have a great video for you guys today since you all love Yellow so much.
Yeah, everyone loves to ask about Jelly or Boog. And today we were going to tell the story of the big Boog pig. I wish he would face the camera, but he's just all about love. He might turn around here in a second.
There we go.
So we're going to tell the story. A lot of people know, you know, by looking at him, a lot of people realize he has one eye, and people ask about, you know, the stories and everything. And he went through a big ordeal about a year ago. In last month in April, it was actually 1 year exactly. And essentially, we thought we lost him, and he did actually die, which is crazy. But he was brought back. The whole thing is just nuts. The whole thing is wild. So we're going to tell the story today. We have some pictures. We might have one video to go with it. We didn't really film a whole lot during it. Obviously, we didn't film for a vlog.
We didn't film, but like we had to take videos
for medical reasons.
vets.
I filmed what was going on with him so that the vets would know. So if I still have any of those, I can play those. But it's going to be a crazy story because it was just a wild experience. It was. A little backstory. First of all, this is my buddy here. He's like my son. I chose him out of the litter. My mom had the mother Bulldog to them. I've had them since they were little puppies, and I've you know, had them in my adult life now for 6 years.
You should explain his name. Everybody wants to know why he's named Yellow, and that's a perfect story.
So he's named Yellow because when he was a baby, he pooped inside of like the sack. You know, they're in like a little sack inside of the mom. And he pooped in it. So when he came out, he was bright yellow. Like my Corvette yellow. He's bright yellow. And that's why I've always called him Yellow.
He stayed like it for weeks.
Yeah,
he gave him bath after bath or nothing.
Yeah.
And I think that is so unique. I love looking at the pictures. I think it is so freaking cool.
So he was totally yellow at one point.
I love that so much. I think that is literally, that's my favorite story ever. I love that.
Okay.
Since the day I met him, so the first time I ever went over to Mike's house, he was right at the front door to like see me. Mm-hmm. And I remember just straight up eyes on him. We weren't even dating yet. No. So not eyes on Mike. It was just straight up on Yellow.
She just liked
because I thought he looked like Stitch. I was like, oh my god, I don't even think I knew you had dogs. He just stole my heart. And anytime I'd come over, he would just plop himself on my lap. And I definitely have pictures of that. He would just sit on my lap. So he's just the sweetest, funniest, craziest little boy. But anyways, starting the story of what happened on his little journey in 2019, we've been planning to go on a cruise for about 6 months. We had it planned to go with my whole family, and we were going to go for my 21st birthday, and it was just going to be a lot of fun, and he's probably going to leave us.
He's looking to get down here.
I think he's looking to roam.
I can let him.
Yeah, he can go.
There he goes.
He might come back up.
He's balancing on the edge of the recliner here. There he goes.
So it was, you know, it was really exciting, and we were really looking forward to this, and literally a week before we left this happened, like really maybe even 5 days before, and it was horrible. So March 15th, this is the picture I'm looking at, and I'll pop it up on the screen for you guys. Is he trying to get in the food container?
Oh, he's eating the food container. He's eating out of the container. He is
Sorry for that little malfunction. Yellow left the room, went into the dining room, opened up the dog food container, and started eating out of it.
So bad.
He's become such a character. Seriously, he didn't used to be like bad. We feel bad for him, so we let him do whatever he wants. Like it's so bad. You know, we feel bad for him for what he went through. So March 14th, it was the first nice day of the year. It was gorgeous out. We were wearing short sleeves and everything, and it was just so nice out. So we wanted to spend the day outside. So we sat on the patio, and I'll pop up the picture of Mike with the bowls. We just sat outside all day, and this was at 2:42 p.m., having a good time. And then at 4:53 p.m., I don't know if I can pop this video in. I probably can.
Oh, that's me. Oh my god, yeah, I remember that.
Mike took Yellow on the four-wheeler, and it was the cutest thing. It was like father-son bonding. And they're riding on the four-wheeler. This is 4:53 p.m. I don't know if I already said that. But it's starting to get later in the day, and right after they got off the four-wheeler, Yellow started this new thing. He's never done it before. He's roaming around in the yard, and he goes over to a pile of dirt and just takes the biggest mouthful of it. And Mike runs over, and he takes him over the hose, and he's hosing his mouth out, and we're getting him all cleaned up. And we're like, okay, we're done being outside today.
Just to be an idiot, he decides to eat it. Now, sometimes that can be like a dog isn't feeling well. I don't know what his deal is because
it's a new thing now
for years.
Since then, now. Since
and it's only at certain like it's not like he goes to eat dirt like if he was sick or something. He just like if it's a certain type of mulch, he just loves to eat it. You got to be on him all the time. Anytime he used to roam for hours in the yard and never be a problem, but now I got to be on him because he'll go to that spot and eat mulch. That's just his thing.
Yep. So March 14th, he started eating mulch, and now he does it. He just did it today, unfortunately. Yeah. So anyways, we go inside. We're hanging out on the couch. I think you started editing a video. We're kind of like relaxing for the night. The night's coming to an end, and I'm laying next to Yellow, and I'm petting him, and I love to grab his big lips. And I just took his lips, and I kissed him, and he yelped really loud. And I was like, that's weird. You do not hear Yellow yelp.
You can, like, I've stepped on his feet before by accident, and he never yelps.
Tough.
He just doesn't ever yelp. That's his thing.
So I looked at Mike and I was like, what the heck? So I start petting him, and he keeps yelping, like, whenever I'm touching him.
We were trying to figure out where, like, the pain was originating from.
We're, like, massaging him all over, trying to figure it out, and he just... It was like the weirdest, like
the most horrible noise ever, honestly.
Mike might have gotten up to get water or something to make him comfortable, like get water for Yellow, and he got off the couch and he stumbled and fell.
Like he fell over. So at this point, immediately I knew that he went to go get a drink and just fell over. And I was like, okay, obviously something's horribly wrong with him somehow out of nowhere. I mean, he was fine hours earlier. So we rushed him straight to the emergency clinic.
In the Blazer. The Blazer was still a family vehicle. The Blazer was still
like a vehicle at that point.
I laid in the trunk with him, or whatever you call that. I just laid back there with him because he's like weeping from pain.
So we take him to the first place. We have a picture of him on the bed there. I know we have that picture.
Yeah, I have him on the stretcher.
And he was shaved. So you'll see a spot there on his side where he was shaved. That was for allergy testing.
He just got allergy testing the week before.
Unrelated to all this.
Yeah.
So first clinic, they're back there. You can hear him yelping in the back.
Oh my god, it was absolutely horrible.
Yeah.
Here's another picture that I'll pop up. When we took him to the emergency room, he had like this horrible, strange face. He just did not look like himself.
No, he was not
himself. It was just, I can't even describe how horrible it was. So he's screaming in pain in the back, and they really had no idea what was going on.
Yeah, so I mean, he was back there for like an hour, and then they came out and they were just like, we think he slipped a disc in his spine. And immediately I was like, this doesn't seem right. You know, that's super weird. But I mean, the problem with the dog is they can't tell you what's wrong. So they've had him on some pain meds and like a sedative, and he was pretty calm, so we took him home.
We had him, he always sleeps in the bed with us. Mm-hmm. But that night, because everything was really crazy and we didn't want anything to happen to his slipped disc, which we thought, you know, was going on. So we put him in a crate, like a big crate in front of our bed, really comfy, to try and keep him like stable.
And we had a fan on him and everything. And
we woke up to him making this horrid noise.
Yeah, like 2 or 3 in the morning, he was like gasping for air.
I took a bunch of videos for the vets to hear things, and I'm so glad I did because they said you were phenomenal for taking those videos. That helped a lot.
Yeah, we definitely wanted to document it.
Yeah, so I deleted them because it just would make me sob listening to it.
I think I deleted mine too.
So we woke up to this horrible noise, and immediately we got up and we rushed to the closest emergency room. The first time we went to a little bit further one away because it's the best one, but this one was like he literally couldn't breathe. His lips were turning purple. So we took him to the closest emergency room, and they immediately, like, it was like trauma. Because normally you have to sit in the waiting room. Yeah. They took him right away. They took him back on a stretcher.
Fine. We were in the Toyota.
We were in the Toyota and we were going 100 on a back road.
It was wild.
It was so scary. And they immediately put him in an oxygen box, which I think this is the last picture I have from all of this.
Definitely have a picture of that.
And it was just...
Yeah, he was in his little oxygen box.
It was so horrible.
He's in there for an hour. They get him stabilized. They get him breathing again. And they say that because he's a brachiocephalic breed, that he's very inflamed and he's going to have surgery to get some stuff removed in his throat because of the soft palate has collapsed and he has trouble getting air. And I didn't think that sounded right either because I was like, well, you know, he's never had, sure, he's a bulldog, so they don't breathe great. I mean, you know, you always got to be careful with heat and exercise and things like that, very limited amounts. But he's never had a problem in his whole life, and now all of a sudden he was like an inch from death for seemingly no reason. So why all of a sudden would that be a problem?
So this emergency room kept him for part of the day.
Yeah.
And then we took him to a really big specialist in Philly.
So there's a place called Hope in Westchester. That's a really good veterinary. I mean, it's, really good veterinary care. Hope, it's called. They did surgery on Savannah when she had cancer. So it's a great place, and the best around. So we took him to Hope, and they took him in and he was stabilized at this point, but he did start. We had ice and everything in the truck when I had the OG Duramax.
He overheated really fast.
Yeah, but so it was kind of like a rush because they got him stabilized at this emergency clinic around here, and then we were going to take him up to Hope. They tried at Shores to take him out of the oxygen little crate, whatever. And he lasted for about an hour and then started doing the same thing again, and then he had to go right back in the oxygen. That was like the only way to get him stabilized was to have him on oxygen and to have him on sedatives. So they got him stabilized, put him on a sedative, and then sent him with us. And about 10 minutes before we got to Hope, he started doing that again. And keep in mind, this is like, my dog is dying here for sure. He was dying. It was just really bad. But we get him to Hope, and they get him back in right away. Now, he started doing it, like I said, about 15 minutes before we got there. So it was really like a rush. I mean, we almost didn't make it. I thought he was going to die on the ride up. But this is all we could do. This was all. You can't keep him in the oxygen thing forever. And they didn't have any suggestions for him down there where we live. So they took him back. They got him stabilized up there at Hope and said, he needs this surgery, and we can't figure out what's going on. They took X-rays, took an MRI. They have all that there at Hope. Nothing wrong with his back. Couldn't figure out why. They didn't think the soft palate was that bad. They couldn't figure out what was going on. What was causing this horrible behavior. So I said to them, I talked to them and said, well, what can we do? And they said the only way they had was to take him to the University of Penn Veterinary School, which is like the veterinary hospital, the Ryan Hospital in Philadelphia, which is like probably the best veterinary hospital in the world. So we left him there to stabilize, and then we were going to come up the next morning and get him. So I'm thinking, now this is a pretty long trip. We could get caught in traffic, and to Philadelphia, this could be like an hour drive. And he was getting worse as time went on. Like before, when they stabilized him at Shores and they took him off oxygen, he would last for like an hour. Up at Hope, if they took him off oxygen, he would last for like 5 minutes. So it was really bad. It was getting worse and worse. Like he was obviously going down, very downhill. I mean, it was all so dramatic. It was over the course of less than 24 hours.
Yeah.
From a totally healthy dog to just
dying. He was totally healthy. He was totally fine whenever we were hanging out that day on the four-wheeler and everything.
And just
totally yellow.
Rapidly deteriorating. We were thinking about like hiring an ambulance. They
don't do them anymore.
They don't do them. They used to have pet ambulances, but nobody, nobody uses the service.
The Toyota was an ambulance.
The Toyota became an ambulance. So we packed up bags of ice to keep them cool, to keep any swelling down. And then my buddy Troy Sowers, I know that he has sleep apnea, so he has an oxygen tank, so if he needs it. And I was like, Troy, I need to borrow your oxygen tank. And he was like, yeah, sure. Why do you need an oxygen tank? So I told him the whole story. So thank you. Shout out to Troy Sowers. Thank you. He lent us the oxygen tank. So we had little lines meant for a human. We had him run, and we were going to be able to run him into his nose. So we're flying to Philadelphia. My mom's in the back seat. She's freaking out, saying I'm driving and she's like, I know you have to go fast, but this is just crazy. So it was wild.
Well, when we had him in the car to get to Penn, from Hope to Penn, it is a 25-minute drive roughly. And Mike is driving so insane, and there was traffic, and he went on the shoulder. This is
Philadelphia traffic, so I'm driving on the side of the road.
And I said, Nancy, close your eyes.
Yeah, I told my mom just to close her eyes.
But I'm glad that we did do that because, she's trying to keep us calm, and she's like, don't panic, don't panic. But when we got to Penn, they said that he literally was seconds from dying.
Yeah. He actually did at Penn die. They had to, there was no heartbeat and no lung function, but they were able to bring him back. It was just crazy. So we made it by the skin of our teeth.
It was so horrible because, they just take him away from us, and we're sitting in the waiting room, and the doctor comes out with the most horrible news ever. I'm gonna cry because this was the worst part. He just tells us that he's going to die. He just gives us the worst news, but he was explaining things wrong. We were misunderstanding it. and we totally like thought this is it, and all of us just cried together, and we thought he was back there just done.
I mean, he was honest too, and he said there's a chance he might make it, there's a chance he won't, but he's going to need this, that, and the other thing. And I was like, oh, they can't even do that, like, so he's a goner.
It was horrible.
But they said they didn't know what was wrong either at this point. Nobody knew. So, you know, we were prepared to say goodbye. When I said, hey, before you they said, look, we need to start breathing for him. They're going to put him on a respirator. We need to do this, that, and the other thing. We definitely need to do emergency surgery to get his airway clear. So I said, you know, can I go back and see him one more time before you do this? Because I thought he was going to die. And I went back and saw him, and I told him he was a good boy. And,
that was probably the second worst part.
Yeah. And once they took him back, I think we went home.
Yeah. They said it's best to go home.
Anyway, I fully thought he was going to die. But
yeah, we went back in the emergency room. So us thinking that, like, getting the news that, yes, he's going to die, and we just absolutely lost it, that was the worst. And then the other thing that was the worst was going back to see him, because there was 3 nurses standing around him, literally breathing for him. They were pressing.
Hooked up to all kinds. He was hooked up to everything.
They were literally breathing for it. It was unreal. He's looking at us.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you telling my story?
As we're going home, the doctor called. And by that point, they had located the problem was something in his ear that was causing him pain too. Long story short, he had meningitis. It was meningitis, which was an infection in his brain. That stemmed from an ear infection. And that caused all of these problems. It basically made him, like, brain dead.
A lot of people think that he only has one eye, but he really only has one ear too. So nobody knows that.
Yeah, he's only got one ear because the whole thing had to be taken out.
So he only has one ear.
Yeah. So he's got one ear and one eyeball, and he's
totally
really can't hear.
Shut. Yeah. It's totally sewed shut. So you lift his little flap up, and it's just totally closed.
It looks like he has
really
an ear, but it's fake. So that's that. So he got treated for meningitis, had his ear canal removed, had the soft palate surgery in his throat, had a tracheostomy, didn't have to have the trach permanently, thankfully, so his throat healed up and he can breathe normally. So he was good on that front.
He's doing great. He was doing really great.
Doing great.
And
still had 2 eyes at this point.
Mike's mom wanted to watch him so, like, she could fully focus on him since she wasn't working. So she watched him all hours of the day. Mm-hmm. And we ended up going on our vacation because we had a few days of him being totally fine. All was well.
Yeah, he was good. We made it to the cruise.
Yeah. So we went on the cruise, and then Mike and I actually came home from the cruise, and for whatever reason, we went to Florida, like, a week later. So we went to Florida for a race where you blew up your McLaren. And really good luck. We were having just great luck.
It was a horrible month.
Our dog died and then got brought back to life, and then the McLaren blew up in Florida. Okay, so the night that happened, I think maybe the night before, we get a text message. I'm not going to out the person, but we get a text message from somebody that interacts with Yellow saying, I'm so sorry to hear about Yellow. And Mike freaked out because Mike's mom's thing is to not tell you bad news on vacation. She says, why ruin the trip? We'll tell you whenever we get home.
So I get a text that says, sorry about Yellow, and I'm like, he died. Like, what happened? So I call my mom.
Mom, what's going on? And she's like, well, what do you mean? And you were like, what happened to Yellow? And she's like, what do you mean? And she just had no idea. And she was like, why on earth would that person tell you this? I did not want them to tell you. But it turns out she found out that Yellow, he was rubbing at his eye or something, so she took him to the vet, and they told her right there and then that his eye had to be taken out. And she was like, well, I guess I have to tell you now. So she told us, and once again, we were just sobbing because how do you picture your dog going through that? And
the one eye thing didn't bother me that much because I was like, it
bothered me so much.
Like, a human being cares about their, if I lost my eye, I would have to walk around thinking, man, I only have one eye and I look weird and all this stuff. But a dog doesn't really care. And it's not that bad. You can still see.
We were walking around like this all day just to make sure, like.
So it's not that bad. He went through about 8 or 9 surgeries. This is over the course of a month.
We would have never have put him through this, but we kept asking, are we torturing him? And they said he really has a good life left to live. We really think that this is worth it.
A year later, he's doing great.
He's doing incredible. Like, he's a beast. we're definitely considering pet insurance for our next dogs in the future. So we're in Florida. April 13th, we left on the 14th. He gets his eye taken out on the 15th, and we went to go pick him up on the 17th at Penn. We really trust Penn. Oh my gosh, we'll do. If we ever have an emergency, that's where we'll be going. And I'm gonna pop up a picture after his surgery. It's a little, what's the word? Graphic. So if you're not into that, maybe fast forward a little bit. But I was not expecting, I don't know why I wasn't expecting this, but I wasn't expecting it to look this, horrible. I thought just his eye was gonna be gone and it was gonna be so shut. But there's a lot of bruising and everything.
So you can see there on that side, that's all normal. He's got an ear and everything. And then on this, then on this side,
he's trying to sniff the camera.
He's trying to.
This is totally shut.
See, there's no real ear there. It's not a hole. And he's got no eye there on that side.
He's such a big polar bear.
But he's a massive bear. I mean, he was about 70 pounds all his life when he was in his prime.
Oh my God.
Now that
after the surgery, he was so tiny.
And now he cruises around 50 pounds now, 55.
So that was a lot of information, and Mike was saying it's gonna be a long video, but I really think
I'm a bad storyteller.
No, you're not. That was great. We told all the great details, and I think it's really important to share every second of it. So if it's like a super long video, I'm sorry, but I'm all about like giving every ounce of detail whenever I tell a story. And all my friends and family know that. I go way into detail. But he's doing incredible. Yeah. He's so incredible. And the last thing we'll explain, because a lot of people ask, he is staying with Mike's mom. He just does not get along with his sisters, and we don't want to put them through it. We don't want to put him through it after what he went through.
I don't know what happened. He just...
Really, after what happened with his little brain infection, he changed a lot with the eating the mulch and the not liking his sister anymore, because they used to be inseparable. It's a bit actually dangerous the way that they fight, so we try and keep them separated, but we'll have him come back here and visit. We'll go over to Mike's mom's to visit. Like, we see him.
So that's why he's not here every day, but he's still alive and doing great.
He's doing incredible. He's going for car rides all the time and eating so much. He's doing great. That's pretty much everything. That's all we really have to say, and that's Yella's story.
That's the story of Yella, and that's where he's at, and what happened to him during all that, and that's it.
Yeah, you want to say goodbye, Bear? Say goodbye, and thank you for listening to my story. All right, bye guys. We'll see you in the next video.
See ya.